pleasure to talk to you. My name is Mahesh Chandak. I belong to Bayer or Bayer, different ways to call it. It's a German company, and we are into pharmaceuticals. We are into crop science, uh, and other small businesses like consumer health, environment science, etc. So I'm handling health, safety, environment for South Asia for Bayer, and for one of the divisions, which is crop science, I am the Asia Pacific business partner for health, safety, environment. So I will give a bit of a introduction about me. So we'll take you through this interaction. This is a little bit about introduction about myself. Uh, so in terms of my experience, I have done my chemical engineering from IIT Bombay, and a typical, engineering career where you take science after 11, 12, then you decide what to do. So I took up chemical engineering, and I was still not sure after I finished my engineering what I want to do. So that time decided to work in the industry for a couple of years and gain some practical experience. And sometimes we make these choices, we are not sure, and so we just postpone the choice. So basically, I wanted to do some further studies, but I was not sure what to do, what to study. So I said, let me start some practical experience and I can decide what to do. So 2 years I worked at NOSIL, and some of you may know it used to be a petrochemical complex near Mumbai, and I worked there in a chemical plant, and I gained some practical experience. And as I was doing that, I realized that the core chemical engineering is not what I want to do, and I want to get into some application area. And that time the Indian economy was opening up, and I'm telling you this story with a purpose. So here, and you are looking at future, you need to think of, okay, what story you want to build. Okay, it's not about degree, it's not about the story, and your story has to be in line with the requirements of the industry, with the requirements of the country where you operate. And so you have to say, okay, which is the what kind of story I want to build in the long term, and you have to think very long term. Then it works out. That's my understanding. Everybody will have a different logic, but that's my logic. So that time Indian economy was opening up, a lot of multinational companies were coming to India, and I felt these companies will want good standards of safety, good standards of environment and health at their factory. India that time did not have very elaborate environment, health, safety field at that time. So there was no, nowadays we always go with, okay, what is in demand today, right? But what is in demand today may not be in demand tomorrow. And what is in demand tomorrow may not be in demand today. So that's what happened in my case. I was interested in the field of environment and everybody was making fun of me. They felt, what is this field you want to get into? You are a chemical engineer. You are from IIT Bombay. Don't get into environment field. It has no scope. But I felt if multinationals are coming and we are putting up more and more factories, at some point it is going to be important to take care of environment laws, safety laws, and so on. So though there was no scope that time, I felt there will be scope in 5 to 10 years time. And with that intention, then I realized, okay, now I want to get into environment. I like the subject. I like the idea of making sure that we have factories which meet the laws of the land. Yesterday was Environment Day, as Sukesh mentioned, and you can see the increased awareness now. But that time, I'm talking of 1992 when I passed out from IIT Bombay. 2 years I worked in NOSIL. So 94 I decided, okay, let me go to US. Now I know what to do. So I went to University of Cincinnati and to do my master's in the field of environment and chemical engineering. And I worked on some projects there while I was doing my master's. Those projects were to solve some environmental problems like air pollution control, water pollution control. I'll not go into detail of all that. But I felt, okay, let me gain some more studies in that field. And then I came back to India because that was my story, right? My story was to be in India as the demand for environment would increase. So I did not want to stay back in US. It was easy to stay back that time, but I did not want to. So I came back, and after 1 or 2 months of trying to figure out what to do, first I thought, let me join the Pollution Control Board. and I can help shape the regulations in India. But it was not easy to get into pollution control board. There is a lot of bureaucracy, etc., etc. So I then did the second choice, which was consulting, and that is also important. Sometimes our first choice doesn't work out. We have to always see, okay, what else is there, what else you can do, and if you have to keep your eyes and ears open, you will definitely find some options. So I felt consulting is a good option. That way I'll be able to advise companies what to do, and help them to improve their environmental performance. So I spent 14 years in consulting. I was in a company called MWH, which now is called Stantec. It is a global company headquartered in Canada. When I was there, it was headquartered in US. And I started offering a lot of environment, health, safety services to my clients. And I focused on multinational clients because they were the ones who wanted good quality work. They were, now obviously it is different. Now a lot of Indian companies want good quality work to be done. Uh, and you know, so what I'm trying to tell there is sometimes you have to focus within a field. You have to focus on where you want to be strong at. That way people remember you for that skill. So I felt I should get into Sukeshi, some people are in the waiting room. You have to keep admitting them. Um, so
I'm admitting them.
yeah. So I said, okay, let me focus on multinational. I can't do everything. Let me focus on this one area. So I looked at what my clients need. So that is again very important. As you look into your future, you have to see what your clients will need, and then you have to learn that. You can't say, okay, I know this skill, so then you hire me. It doesn't work like that anymore, especially after, because of this COVID and in general. Okay, COVID has not caused any major change in the career path, but COVID has accelerated what change was. What would have taken 5 years to happen, now it has happened in 5 months or 3 months. Okay, if you take from December onwards globally, 5 months there has been such a change. It would have taken 5 years to make that change. So COVID has not changed the direction of anything. COVID has just accelerated that change, or you know, the evolution. So I said, let me focus on multinational clients and let me see what they need. So I talked to my clients. So then I realized when a multinational is there, first is they come to a country, a new country. They come and set up a factory, or they buy a company. So there is something called due diligence support which they need. They want to evaluate the company from environment point of view, safety, legal, and many other areas. So I said, okay, that's something I would like to do. So I got to go to many different types of companies, do quick due diligence, and that also increased my exposure. Then I asked them, okay, what else you need? Then they said, when we buy the company or we set up the company, after some time we want to make sure the company is operating properly, and do audits and so on. So that they call operational excellence. So I got into that field, started learning how to do audits, and did audits for these multinational companies. And then there were other areas, you know, which, knowing what the customer needs, I started developing, like training, permit support, regulations, etc., etc. And in that context, I started doing work out of India also. So I was able to do work in about 15 countries and give them support through the entire life cycle of their, you know, setting up. So learning, the what I learned in those 14 years of consulting is not just to do the projects. I learned how to change ourselves with the times. Okay, because what I started off was pure environmental impact assessment kind of work. But what I ended after 14 years is exactly what my client needed, and a variety of services that my client needed. So it's very important to keep, the studies don't stop after you finish your graduation. The studies, in fact, begin in a way after you finish your graduation. So that's what happened to me. So 14 years was a lot of learning. Then if you see my next bullet, it says I joined Legacy Monsanto, which is nothing but the seed company which Bayer acquired. So then I went from consulting to industry. So many of you would be surprised, why did I do that? I was already happy in consulting. I was doing projects in these 15 countries. I was the department head in that multinational consulting company. I was able to do business development. I was able to do client relationship management. I was able to execute projects. I was making money for the company. And it was a very action oriented life that time. So then why did I leave all of that and joined a company where I was just now would have to do in-house, correct, environment, health, safety, because Monsanto is not a consulting company. It is a product company. So my work is just in-house. So I would just pause here and let me check how well you are able to, I mean, how well I'm able to communicate with you. So anybody can unmute and tell me, why would I leave a consulting company at the top of my career after 14 years and then join an industry?
Well, you may, I mean, as far as I look at it, it's all about satisfaction, where you get it and how you get it. So maybe, possibly, you have, you know, let's say the interest in your HSE field, which is, I can see over here, has waned off, and you're looking at new challenges, and maybe you can express yourself.
Yeah. No, thanks, Sanjay. So yes, in a way, what Sanjay mentioned is correct. So new challenges. Now, I think that's a very important word, what Sanjay mentioned, and a very right word. We have to look for new challenges, because when we uh, take up new challenges, we learn to overcome those new challenges. And in that process, we learn to do something new, and our value in the industry remains intact. If I just kept on doing consulting, imagine I have a, I have a blade and I keep using that blade to hit my target. After some time, the blade will become blunt, correct? Either I get tired to do that, and or the blade becomes blunt. So somebody has raised hand. You want to say something?
Okay, I'll handle that.
No problem.
So
no
please
problem.
carry on.
Yeah. So you start becoming very one-sided. Let me say that way. If you just do the same thing again and again and again, so that is one reason to look for new challenges. Also, when we say new challenges, it can't be very random. I can't just go from consulting to, let's say, a completely different profession, or I can't just say, okay, let me do MBA and now I will do management. We have to know ourselves. We have to know what is our strength, what is our weakness, and what we can be good at. So we need to take these new challenges in a very smart way. So when I was, after 14 years of consulting, what I realized was I was very good in delivering results, right? Because every consulting assignment has a deadline, and I would have to handle 5-6 projects at any time and meet the deadline and keep doing it. So in a year, we would typically do 50, 60, 70 projects, and next year. So imagine 14 years of doing that over and over and again. You start becoming very good in meeting expectation and delivering the result, okay, on time. So that was one thing. Second was data driven. So consulting is all about proposals, making proposals, delivering the project, being able to estimate. So you there's a lot of data which you generate and you have to get good at. So I was getting good at that. What I realized I was not getting good at was social aspects, in terms of being able to make impact in society, being able to impact people. Because in consulting, it's very transactional. Client has a requirement, I'm able to meet the requirement. It's like you go to a shop, you go with a business, the shopkeeper has a business, you buy the goods, you give him the money, and you move out. There is no emotion attached to that. That was little bit coming to my mind, that that's not the kind of life I want, where it is very transactional. I was wanting to make some impact to people around me. I wanted to make impact to society. Hence, I thought, what can give me that with what I know and what I don't know? And I felt if I join an industry where I can still, I did not want to completely change into a management career, because I didn't feel I was confident about it. But I knew that my skills in environment, health, safety, which I learned from visiting various clients, I can put to good use in a company. Vimlesh, you want to say something? You raised your hand. Okay, so if you want to say something, please raise your hand in that Zoom app, and then I will stop you and let you speak. Otherwise, also you can unmute and just share your thoughts. It's an informal interaction. So it was important for me to realize my strengths and what I want, what I could do differently with my strengths. So I felt I had a passion for people. In my consulting organization, somebody was asked to leave the organization suddenly in finance, not even related to my consulting job. I felt very bad about that person. I felt this is not right. And somewhere that incident made me think that I do care for people and wish I had a role where I could impact people and also make a social impact. So when Monsanto, for whom I had done one project in 2005 in Pakistan, I had gone to Pakistan for that. I had done one project in India in 2006. After 6 years after that, in 2011, they came to me with a requirement that we need somebody to head our India health, safety, environment, and also human rights function. Human rights is nothing but upholding rights of an individual, like child labor, forced labor, and so on. I immediately felt very positive about that this is what I really would like to learn and do. And I applied. And when you really want it, you get it also. Okay, when you apply for a job, you should really want it. Sometimes we just apply for the heck of it. Opportunity है, किसी ने JD भेजा है, let me LinkedIn पे आया है, let me apply. It doesn't work like that. I was very fascinated with the field of agriculture even before I joined Monsanto. I was not in the field, but I knew, like initially, how I was fascinated about multinationals coming to India. For me, this was another fascination, that this is an area where a lot of work needs to be done. Social impact needs to be created. Environment, health, safety problems need to be solved. So that passion, that purpose of wanting to make me into a more all-round person and not just sharpen, one edge of mine, and knowing what I could do differently. With that, all that thought, I joined Monsanto. And that worked out very well for me personally. I immediately liked my new job. I was not consulting anymore, but I immediately liked the people aspect. I immediately liked the mentoring aspect to my team, because now my team was there for a longer time with me. So mentoring them, making them successful. Many of my team members have become plant managers now. They have gone out of environment and safety, but that's great. They are now heading businesses. Many of them have joined other companies, but they are very successful. Some still remain with me. So that part I really like, and that this job allowed me to do that. Then my role got expanded to Africa. And then when Monsanto was acquired by Bayer, as I said, into pharmaceutical and crop science, I took up that role since last year. So that's briefly about me. And then you can see my family at the bottom left and my extended family in the third picture. So I'm part of this extended family. And all this is important for me. So for me, it was all important to be in Mumbai around these people and still make a career. So whatever my personal and professional limitations, strengths, one has to play with those and make a career. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. And another thing is, as we progress in life, as you progress in life, all of you, try to build a mental map. Now I want you to focus on the second picture on the bottom row, okay, where you see a number of attributes: analytical, imaginative, lateral thinking, etc. Try to make a mental map. What are those areas, what are those skills where you are good at? All of you are good at something. And when you have to make career choices, you have to go back. This is your toolkit, okay? Like here you see 9 skills about me. The first column, if you see, is how I think individually, okay? So when a new thing comes to me, I am analytical because of my engineering background. At the same time, I try to imagine and come up with some lateral thinking and out of the box way of thinking. The second one is how I do my work. Result oriented. I told you when I was in consulting, I had to deliver project time after time after time. Commitment is important, and being able to adapt. I'm very flexible in terms of what is available, tomorrow what is different. And last is how my team looks at me. For me, as I said, people and social is important. So for me, it's very important how they see me. So I like to empower them. I try to influence them and also mentor them. So I know these are what I'm good at. There are many other things I'm not good at. Okay, but let's not talk about this. You also don't talk about what you're not good at. Make a list of what you're good at and then put it to good use and use it to make choices which come to you. I think if you do that, as you can see in the bottom right, you will have a great path ahead of you. Where it will lead, I cannot tell you. Each one will make your own path. But you need to be thinking, I just wanted to share my story. I'm not a management guru, but I can tell you my story and what worked for me and how it worked for me. Okay, so that's what the intention of sharing this story. So I'll stop sharing now, and maybe some more people have joined. I welcome those who have joined a bit late. So I now want to a little bit stop and maybe hear from all of you or some of you. What are some of your questions? And I do have some content which I can share in response to your question. Okay, so maybe we'll open the floor now for some discussion.
Yeah. I basically work in the oil and gas industry.
Yeah.
Looking at non-technical functions, basically commercials. What I have realized is the personal attributes, as you have said, are important in mapping a career path, but it's very important to be adaptable, to be flexible, to be, you just, the more flexible you are, the more there's more of an appeal in the corporate for you. Those, in my opinion, I don't know how it is in India, but those days of super specialization are gone, because super special jobs are now being taken over by a totally different set of people. And you being a consultant, you will realize that super specialists are basically consultants. You get hold of them, you task them with a particular job, you get the results, and that's the end of it. And yeah, you can go.
Yeah. No, so there is an advantage and disadvantage when it comes to being a super specialist. While the field in which you are a super specialist is in demand, like today, if you take a heart surgeon, today if you take a person who does knee operations, kneecap replacement, they are in super demand because the society needs it. And so as long as the thing is in demand, there is no problem. The challenge happens when that thing is no longer in demand, and hence at that time, sometimes in being super specialist, we are not adaptable. Super specialist sometimes means you are not flexible enough to learn new things. And actually, but I think that is not true universally. A specialist can decide that he or she can change if the time requires. If they are good enough to be a super specialist, if they are smart enough to be at that level where they are called specialists, they have to think, why can't I learn something new and be a specialist in something new thing? I think it's a mindset change. And
yes, absolutely. So, it's all the mindset. Well, you got that right. It's all, but then a super specialist would upgrade themselves, basically. Acquiring new skills or something would still be upgrading themselves in their own fields. Like you spoke about a heart surgeon. Maybe there's a very good heart surgeon, but he's shared by 5 hospitals, because each of the hospitals may not individually require his skills on a continuous basis.
Yeah.
So that's how, I would term that heart surgeon as a consultant. Like if it's a general practitioner or somebody, he's going to be dedicated. He's going to be, working in your hospital, clinic or whatever for the next 20 years. And he'll keep getting run-of-the-mill patients. But that super specialist consultant would be like, he'd be required once in a month or twice in a month or, something like that.
Yeah, I think they all have their advantages. I wouldn't write off a specialist. I wouldn't write off a general practitioner.
No.
We are not. Yeah. Let me complete. We're not talking. We are talking of these as examples, right? In a medicine field, in HSA field, if you take health safety environment field team, there are some specialists. For example, process and plant safety. Some of you may want to be an expert in fire safety. Some of you may want to be an expert in risk assessment or industrial hygiene. And some of you may want to be a generalist in the field. We call it generalist or an overall, health safety environment manager. So all these options are good. You have to see how good you get into the field, how the path for a industrial hygiene person is different than the path for a health safety environment person, and you need to make those choices accordingly. At this moment, all these areas remain important. Uh, Coming to little bit of this topic about coming to this topic about Preeti, can you please mute your phone? Yeah. Coming to this topic about health safety environment, okay, the the if you see this whole COVID crisis, it is nothing but a safety crisis. Okay, it is about the health of people, and what I am seeing, the importance of safety professional has increased a lot because of this crisis. Yes, people are worried about jobs, people are worried about industry survival, etc., etc. But think a bit long term. This crisis has made every Indian wear a mask. Okay, for those of you who are dealing with road safety and you try to get helmet to people to wear helmets in India, you see that it is, after 40 years of making motorcycles in India, we are still not able to make every Indian wear a helmet. But this one crisis has made every Indian wear a mask. So if you think of why that happened, okay, because people could see the consequences of not wearing. People saw that government was enforcing. People saw that others are doing and nothing wrong in doing it. As a safety professional, you need to know how you can use these facts in future to get what you want to do in a company or wherever you work. Okay, so it's all about being able to influence people. Because of COVID, I want to assure all of you the importance of safety, health, environment has gone up manyfold. But for you to be successful, you need to learn how to influence people. Just because COVID is there doesn't mean people would have done. The government has done its job of through the messaging, through the social media campaign, through the television campaigns, by roping in celebrities. They are able to influence how people think. They have been very transparent about how many people are on a daily basis contracting COVID, how many people are getting, are losing lives. All this has made us realize that this is what we need to do. Okay, so when you go about your career in future, you have to leverage in your organization people from human resources, people from maintenance, people from leadership, and influence your employees. And that's what you need to, I think that is the big differentiating factor, whether you are a specialist or generalist. One has to be influential amongst the people, and that's what I really want to give the message to all of you. Learn how to be influential. It's not just about the degree that you have. Unless you are influential, and if you go too much on right and wrong, people look at you as a from far. Okay, yeah, you are right, boss, you are right, but then don't come near us. That's what they believe. Many times safety people get into that right and wrong, and if you are
अरे कोई बटन दबाया था क्यों? Hello.
Yeah.
All of them are.
Yeah, please stay muted when you're not speaking, so that others don't get disturbed. And when you want to speak, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, you're absolutely right when you said about the influential part, especially for the HSC. Being in oil and gas, HSC is like kind of priority number 2 above or below quality. So this is very, very important, and many a times they get into conflict at sites and with people because of what you said.
Yeah.
To right and wrong all the time.
Right.
That's of course true.
Yeah. So today, if you have time, 5 minutes, I would like to just take you through how to get influential, okay, in a very tangible way. It's not about public speaking. It's not about your personality. It's not about your, it is all of that, but it is not just because of that, okay? One can be influential. So I will take you through some techniques for improving your competencies, which which help you to be influential. But before that, any questions from anybody? So far, I've just heard Sanjay share some thoughts. What about others?
Hello.
Yeah.
Sukesh here. Maheshji, going forward, I mean, there are various participants coming from various industries over here on this platform today. Namely, people from construction, power, food and beverage, and so on. Different backgrounds have joined us. So maybe naming a few industries and what kind of health and safety measures need to be taken during this current situation. For an example, we have a participant who has a COVID positive patient on his side who has been recently detected. So can we talk about similar situations which might be, coming forward in these times for the health and safety professionals? What kind of measures, what kind of situations they need to handle, how they need to handle such situations, how they need to make others understand about it, to impart trainings, all these things, if we can just, go through probably.
So I think Sukesh, you are talking about a complete 1 hour session on this thing.
In
I can
brief,
tell you,
probably.
yeah, no, I think people are on the call must be aware of what to do. Okay. But I'll just repeat some important things. As HSC people, one is ensure that at your site there is a good hygiene and washing facilities available. I mean soap and water and sanitizer. As much soap and water is more Indian and more easy for people to adopt than sanitizer. So you can have soap and water at the gate. You can have soap and water. Obviously, you have the washrooms, but you can install some temporary installations where soap and water is easily available for people to hand wash. That's first and foremost thing. Second is the screening at the gate. So COVID doesn't arise just because somebody comes to work. It happens because they get exposed here and there. So at the gate, your good proper screening, not just temperature. Temperature screening is very common now, but looking at other symptoms and also ensuring that they are not belonging to any containment area is very important. I can't stay in a containment area and go to office. I may be asymptomatic. So we will not see me in temperature scanning. You will not realize that I have, I'm exposed to COVID cases where I stay. So asking people to be transparent about whether they belong to containment area, doing temperature screening, looking for other symptoms like cough, etc., is important. Once inside, you also have to ensure that at HSC, as health safety environment people, that people are not working very close to each other. If there is a machine and two people are standing on it at half a meter distance and looking at each other, and sometimes they will remove mask because you can't wear mask whole day. It's difficult, and they talk to each other and then they can impact each other. So try to work with your maintenance operations team so that you can separate the work area of people and use the concept of 5S. In 5S, you know that you draw these squares on the ground. So you can tell people you can stand here and work, you can stand there and work, and don't come in the middle and work. So try to readjust your work area to the extent possible, and that will eliminate the hazard. In the field of safety, we eliminate the hazard, right? That's the first thing. Then you do substitution, administrative control, engineering control, and all of that. So that's what you can do. And last but not the least, there will be areas where people are not able to keep 2 meters distance continuously. So what you can do is 15 minutes you can consider as a threshold time. If a task is less than 15 minutes, it is a low risk exposure because it's people just, okay, I come at the gate and he does my temperature screening. He will be less than 2 meters from me, the security guard. But it's fine because that is a very 10-second activity. 15 minutes you can consider as a threshold. Any task which two people have to do more than 15 minutes, they should keep them 2 meters apart. If it is a small task and I have to just cross somebody in the passageway, you cannot eliminate that. You cannot maintain 2 meters in passages, etc., etc. So 15 minutes के ऊपर का काम है. 15 minutes, any job more than 15 minutes, you keep them 2 meters apart. Now the jobs which you cannot maintain 2 meters distance for and which are more than 15 minutes, you should maintain what is called a register of close contacts. Write the names of such people that today on 6th of June, Mahesh and Shukeshi were working for 1 hour, with each other at less than 2 meters distance. Maintain such register for a daily use, for daily, for daily at site, so that if suppose something happens to me on 15th of June, you can go back to this register and say, okay, who has Mahesh worked with as a close contact? And you will see on 6th, Sukeshi's name is there, and you can tell Sukeshi to stay at home or observe her health in case she got impacted. That is very important. So you have to hope for the best, but also prepare for the worst. So my question to the gentleman who has a COVID positive case, do you know the close contacts of that person at your site? If not, you can maintain that register, and that will help. These are some of the things. There are many more topics. If somebody is interested, I can have a one-on-one conversation later on any specific doubt on COVID.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Manushi this side. So I'll just brief out what I'm doing. I'm currently working into pharma sector, into sales and marketing. So for last 3 months we are working from home. But now, like, my company people are asking us to go to the field and work in hospitals. And the hospitals that I am working, they are COVID positive centers as well. And there's some hospitals which are not COVID centers. But it is very risky for us to go there, meet the surgeons, and I'm into implant industry, so I need to go and assist the surgeon, the OT also. So how to handle such?
Yeah. No, good question, Manushi. Thanks for sharing. And in fact, we also have such people in our organization. So I'll tell you what kind of guidance we have given them, and you can see whether it makes sense to you. And if you have further questions, you can always reach out, and Sukeshi has my contact, and I can give you more information. Let me just share my screen.
Yeah, I can see you. Sorry, I got disconnected.
Yeah. So Manushi, I'm just explaining you. So when you talk of pharmaceutical sales team, you have to realize that your customers have different risk profile. So if you see this column here, the first column, stockist retailer is the lowest risk, clinic is the second highest risk, and hospitals pose the higher risk. And anything in containment zone, we have told our field teams not to go. Now, what is not in containment area, we are giving them color code. As you can see, from green is stockist and retailer, clinic is yellow, and hospital is orange. So we are saying go only for business critical to a hospital. We are asking our team to avoid high risk areas inside hospital, and also check the local guideline by the state and by the hospital before you go. So that's one part of it. Okay. The second part is, now depending on what you do in the hospital, you have to wear the right personal protective equipment. So for people who are going only up to stockist and retailer, for them a cloth mask is enough. For people who go to clinic, a surgical mask is enough. For people who are going to a hospital, a surgical mask is enough in general areas. But within the hospital, if you're going to areas where COVID patients are there, we are recommending N95 mask. We are recommending that just for that visit purpose, you wear a glove also. And then the mask and the glove, you should discard in the hospital itself. Don't take it back outside the hospital with you. If you go to next hospital, wear a fresh one. In the hospital, we are giving guidelines like physical distancing, frequent and proper hand washing. As soon as you enter, as soon as you touch certain things, and then before you leave, you have to do frequent and proper hand washing. We are asking them to maintain 2 meters distance to the extent possible. We are telling them, be mindful of what you touch in the hospital. Try to be as straight, upright, no handshake, and do not touch your eyes, nose, and mouth. Avoid the crowded areas like elevators. Try to take the staircase. Be very careful about shared objects. Don't take the pen from the hospital counter. Don't take the notepad from the hospital counter. Don't hold the mobile of a certain person in your hand. Okay. In the vehicle that you go, also you have to follow the physical distance, as you can see. Try to do as much digital connect with the customer or doctor, as you can see. Some things you have to go there, yes, but most of it you can still do digital. We are asking our employees to inculcate healthy habits by exercise, proper sleep, home food. And when you go back home, take a shower immediately after you reach and change into good clothes. Take care of your elderly and children at home, and download Arogya Setu app. Okay, these are some of the norms that we have for our people who go to hospitals and clinics and this thing. And this is some the self declaration, okay, which I told you. There are so many symptoms now. We want our employees to confirm that they don't have any of these symptoms. Them or their family members should not be COVID treated. They should not be in contact with a COVID confirmed or suspect case in the last 14 days. Okay, very important. They should not be residing in containment area. They should agree to follow all government and company norms. They should have undergone this training and agree to abide by it. Secondly, there can be change in your situation. One should inform and then stop making the visits. And lastly, taking care of vulnerable people at home and downloading the Arogya Setu app. So these are some things we take online declaration, from all our employees. I hope I could answer you, Manushi, on your question.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir.
So overall, my point is, if you are careful, don't worry. Okay, there are you have to be very aware of what you're doing, how you do. It's not a problem now. I mean, at least now we know what to do, what not to do. Okay, we are not ignorant. So I think if you do it properly, you should be able to make your visits. We have people who have to go, and Bayer makes iodine injectors for CT scan machines, and when they break down, our people have to go and make visits. They have been doing it successfully without any problem, with all those guidelines that I told you.
Well, Sukeshi and Mahesh, I would like to, it was very nice. I would like to take leave. I have some other commitment at the moment. It was very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good. I'm sure the safety professionals there, they know what you're talking about, but not in such, clear and specific way. They might be doing it as part of their job, and they don't realize, and I'm sure you put a new perspective in front of them. And I wish them all and you all good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ranjan.